Hello everyone, this is Durga from Midas India. So in this webinar series, today we are going to see RC frame and box culvert wizard, how we can generate the frame structure as well as the box culverts using the wizard in the Midas Civil. Okay, but before starting to our topic, let's see the user interface of the software. Okay, so now I have already opened the software. This is the blank portion. So let's start with the opening new file. So to open a new file, I will click on this C icon. So it will redirect us to open the projects that are previously we have developed in the software, or we can open a new project. And also there are options for importing and exporting the Midas files. So in the import option, you will see the AutoCAD DXF files. You can import the SAP files with these versions like V6, 7 and 8. You can import STAT files as well, and also you can import the Nastran file and LUSAS files. Okay, and as you might be knowing that we have the softwares in the geotechnical as well as the FEA analysis, advanced FEA analysis as well. So there is integration between these softwares. You can export this file to Midas Gen. You can export this file to Geotech for the further modeling or extraction of results regarding the soil, or you can further analyze it using the FEA software. Okay, so there is the integration between all these softwares, so you can export Midas file to all other softwares of Midas family. Okay, so now let me open the new project. Okay, so let's start with the user interface. On the top of the window here you can see the main ribbon menu, which is the main menu. Here all these tabs are in the flow of our modeling. What I mean by this is, usually people start or engineers start with the either definition of materials and properties, or they may start with the direct geometry. Okay, so these properties and node element tab are given side by side. Okay, so under the node and element there are conventional manual modeling methods, which are node creation, translation, extrusion, division, intersection, automation, or any change properties of local axis, etc. And after creation of your geometry, we can move forward for the properties, or you can define properties first and then go for the geometry part. So under the properties, you can define material properties, you can define section properties, you can see the section stiffnesses under the section manager. You can also give the reinforcements to the composite section or the PSC sections. You can check the stress points, or you can add the stress points to the section. Okay, so regarding the properties, all things you will find under the properties tab. Now in this course, when some topics will come regarding the time dependent properties or construction stage analysis, time would be the main factor. So as time comes to the picture, creep, shrinkage and compressive strength also comes. So all these related things you will find under the properties tab itself. Okay, then after completion of your geometry and definition of properties, we go for the boundary condition. So we assign the boundaries either simply supported or fixed or pin roller. So these conditions we can define using define supports. And usually in bridges we assign the bearings using elastic links. Okay, so there are elastic links, rigid links, spring supports. So you can give the surface spring or point spring depending upon the type of your element. Now after assigning these boundaries, we go for the load application, where we can apply the static loads or temperature or pre-stress loading or moving load, dynamic loads. So there are different types of loadings present here. So within the static load you can apply the nodal loads, you can give the uniformly distributed loads, or you can give the area loads, pressure loads. You can even apply the hydrostatic pressure even for the even as a curved also. Okay, you can give the floor loads as well. So there are lot of static loads application you will find under the static loads. Then you can go for the temperature prestress, where you will find the temperature gradients, or even the temperature gradient as per the IRC6, which is given the, which is not linear throughout the section. Okay, so positive and reverse temperature gradient, or fall and rise. Then there is a pre-stress loading as well. So the next would be the moving load. So moving load, as per the coded provision, we can go for the moving load application, which we will see in detail in the further webinar. Okay, then there is a dynamic loads. Dynamic loads, as also there are a lot of types, like response spectrum is there, time history functions are there. Okay, so depending on the requirement of a user, you can define these things. Now when response spectrum function is there, you have to define the soil strata, you have to give the seismic zones, and all the details like importance factor, response reduction factor, and the program will generate a spectrum, and then we can give that spectrum function as a load case to x direction, y direction, or in the direction in which you want to apply it. Okay, so this was about the dynamic loads. Then construction stage. So as you may find further in this course of the webinar, you will come across the construction stage analysis. So in that you may see it in the detail. Then heat of hydration for the mass concreting, then the settlement analysis. So there are a lot of different types of loads that are present in the under the load tab. So after all this required load application, we move for the analysis purpose. So in the analysis, you here actually control your analysis results. That means how you want your output, that accordingly you can, manipulate the analysis data. Then after analysis, you go for the results. So first you define the load combination and then extract the results. So here you can see the results graphically, as well as you go for the result tables. So same results that we see in the uh, graphical format, those same results we can extract in the tabular format. Okay, then after results, what is the next step? Nothing but the design. Okay, so for design in Midas Civil, there are two tabs. The first one you can see here, the PSC, which is specifically for the PSC and PSC composite sections. Okay, and for other designs, you will find the design tab, which is steel, RC, or composite design. Okay, and the pushover is for the advanced pushover analysis. And then there is a query tab, where you can actually see the distance between the two nodes, or element length, all these node detail table, element weight table, mass summary tables. So this data you will find under the query. Then coming to the tools, so here basically you set your unit system first, length, force, heat, and temperature. Okay, and actually units are present under, at the right hand bottom side of your screen as well. Okay, here there is a length force unit as well as the length unit, but for heat and temperature you can go to tools and unit system. Okay, then there are preferences, where you set the preferences of your codes, what design codes you prefer, or what material codes you prefer. So this is only preferences. This is not like, if you choose here as IRC or IS, you may not see other codes. This is not the thing, these are just preferences. Okay, then MCT command shell, so which is like a text editor. Okay, so here you can give the command in the text format to the program, and it will assign the loads or create a model. So depending on the command, it will act upon it. Or even you can convert your model file into the text format using the MCT command shell. Okay, in this, when you click here on the C icon, when you go to export, there is Midas MCT file. Okay, that is nothing but the text format. Okay, but I will advise, for if there is no repetition of loading, or no repetitive command, GUI is very simple. So we actually prefer by going through the GUI of the software and not the command shell, but when there are some repetitive commands like tendon insertion or something like that, we can go with the MCT command shell. Otherwise GUI is very simple and it is easier than the text format. Okay, then there is a sectional property calculator, which is SPC. Okay, so it is nothing but the uh, for those sections, for those unconventional sections which cannot be produced in the MIDAS. So here sectional property calculator, what it will do, it will uh, import your AutoCAD DXF file of the section, and then it will mesh the section, it will calculate the properties, and we can use the same section in the MIDAS software. So it is basically for those sections which cannot be easily created in the software. So AutoCAD files can be used for that. Same goes with the tendon profile generator, where you need to have the plan and elevation of your tendons in the AutoCAD DXF format, and you can just import it in the software. Then the third one is the general section designer. Basically this is for the vertical sections, you can say, or even it goes with the pier cap, which are not circular type or rectangular type. So these GSD is for those sections. Here you will get the moment curvature, PM interaction curve, stress results, as well as the crack width. Okay, so yeah, that was about these tabs. Now we will come to the first two tabs that which we haven't seen yet. So view tab, by the name you can also guess, this view tab is all related to the display or the selection of the structural elements or the elements or nodes or any display purposes. Okay, and the next tab, which is structure, it is basically all about the wizards. Okay, what I mean by wizard is nothing but a tool by which we can input the things like layout of the structure or section properties that are used by the by those structures, and also the load information, whether you want to give the self weight or the pavement densities or your soil weight densities or temperature loading. So these kind of loads, you just have to give the intensity of these things, and after giving the layout information or sectional information and the load information, the program generate the model for us. Okay, so this is very useful in case of high end bridges, even for the small bridges as well. It saves a lot of time. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, there are lot many wizards starting from the base structures: beam, column, frame, truss, arch, shell, and right to the cable stayed bridges. Okay, so there are lot many wizards. These four you can see: ILM, FCM, MSS, and FSM. These four are basically for the segmental kind of construction. Okay, incremental launching, free cantilever or balance cantilever, a movable scaffolding system, and full staging method. Okay, so these four are segmental type of constructions. Now today in the session we are going to see the RC frame or box culvert wizard. So using the same wizard you can generate RC frame as well as the box culvert. Okay, so this was about the main menu. Now coming down here, these are some selection tabs: select single, select all, select by window. These are activation over here. So no matter in which tab you are there, you don't have to switch always to the view and go for the activation or selection. Okay, in whatever tab you are present, you can just go here to select anything. Okay, now coming down, there is left hand side, tree menu is present. Okay, so first tab of tree menu is tables, second is works, third is group, and fourth is report. First is, as the name suggests, all the tables are present. Works, this is the main tab which we are going to deal with, because here all the things will come once you start with the modeling. So this is the tab which we are going to use mostly. Then there is a group, this is for the construction stage grouping, and the last one is report, this is for the report generation. So as the name suggests, you may also guess what is the use of each tab. Okay, and even though you are not able to find the meaning of any command or any option, there is always online and offline help manual. You just can press F1 in your keyboard and it will redirect you to the help manual depending upon the internet connection. If you are connected to the internet, it will redirect you to the online help manual. Okay, Okay, now at the same time you can open the second tree menu as well. So if you go to second tree menu, I have just minimized it. So you can find the second tree menu on the right hand side of your screen. At the bottom there is message window. So usually we advise to the clients that do not close this message window, as any error or warning message comes, it will be displayed here. Okay. Okay, now let's come back to the structure and start with the today's topic. Okay, so let me open the RC frame slash box culvert wizard. So first we will see RC frame 2D and 3D, and then we will go for RC box 2D and 3D. Okay, so here if you understand this, the process is going to be same because we are going to use wizard. Okay, so moving load application and everything would be the same in case of frame and culvert. Okay, so let me just come to the wizard and then we will see the further information. Okay, now I have opened this wizard. First, as we discussed, I'm going to open the 2D wizard. So I have chosen 2D here, normal type frame. Now here if you see, we haven't defined any material yet. Okay, so let me define the material first. So I will go here, add. So now it will redirect you automatically to the properties. You don't have to worry that you have to close the again and go to the properties tab. So you just can add it over here. So I'll go and select concrete. I'll select right now ISRC and I'll select M35, let's say, and click on. So here you will see all modulus of elasticity and everything. So if you want to edit anything, you can just choose your code back to none and modify the data. Okay, and click on OK. Okay, now to save the time, I will just open the existing wizard file. Okay, so here I have considered 12-meter span. So if you want to consider the multi-span, then you can go for this 2 at the rate 6 or 6 comma 6. Okay, that means the twice. Okay, two spans of 6 meter. Now coming to the here, if you want to give the shape variation here, then you can decide whether it is circle type or polynomial type. If it is normal, then you can just close the shape variation tab. Now looking at this diagram, you can enter the T1, T2 or span length or the height of wing wall if present. So all these things you can enter depending upon the depending on this image and the drawings that you have. Okay, so right now if you see, zero point 0.7 is the thickness of top slab of the frame. Remember, we are dealing with the frame and not culvert, so there is no bottom slab present here. Okay, so don't confuse. And T2, which is the thickness of wall. So depending on the drawings you have, you can easily enter these dimensions: top thickness, bottom thickness, or thickness of wing wall, or yes, and this is one important thing, H2. Okay, H2 is nothing but the soil layer including the pavement above. Okay, so if you see here, if you don't have the soil present on the top, then H2 shall be equal to P. Okay, P is the pavement. So either H2 should be equal to P or H2 will be greater than P. H2 shall never be less than P in any case, because P is the part of this H2 height. Okay, clear? So H2 is the soil layer plus pavement thickness. This is the total sum of the soil layer thickness plus pavement thickness. Okay, so H2 either it would be equal to P or H2 shall be greater than P. In no case H2 shall less than P. Okay, is it clear? Okay, so pavement P is nothing but the pavement, which is considered here as 100 mm or 0.1. Okay, now let's move to the transverse tab. Here you can choose the type, where sidewalk is present on both the sides or single side or any others, either side of it. Okay, and here if you see it in this image, B3 is the width of your crash barrier, B3 and B7. B4 and B6 is the width of your sidewalks, and B5 is the total clear carriageway width. Okay, so here B5 is 10 meter, B6 is 2 meter, B4 and B6, and 0.45 meter is the width of your crash barrier. Okay, and the supports will be fixed. These supports are for the culvert. So we are now moving to the loads tab. Okay, so right now I am not defining any moving load. We will see it afterwards. Okay, now here as per the requirement, we will check on the load cases. So if you don't want to provide the loads right now in the wizard, you can check off all these options, and afterwards, after generating the model, you can add any elements if you require or delete anything, and then give the load cases. That is not problem. This is just to save our time. You can edit at any point of time. Okay, so I have considered the self pit, I have considered the pavement. So pavement, as you can see here, 0.1 meter thickness is automatically taken from the longitudinal tab. Okay, so same P will be considered over here. Phi I have considered as 35 degree. Weight density of soil is considered as 20. So earth pressure will be calculated accordingly. Now I haven't given any surcharge. Okay, so if you are going to actually that we can see in the box culvert about the groundwater level, because right now we cannot see, this option is disabled in the frame. Okay, now sorry. Okay, and here this is the crash barrier intensity in the kilonewton per meter, and if you want to provide any additional load which is present above your barrier, then you can, for the wind loads, so you can give that additional load, uh, any, if any, present above the barriers. Okay, then sidewalk, as we have given the sidewalk, we have checked on this parameter as well. If sidewalk is not present, then you can just check off this option. Okay, now density I have considered 23 and thickness as 300 mm, and crowd load I have given as 5 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, this is area load, it will be converted accordingly. And temperature gradient, so I have given it 5 as an example, but it will depend on the codal provisions, and depending upon the area the structure is going to be made. Okay, and that you can save this wizard file. Okay, I'll just let me, and make sure you are giving, you're saving everything in a particular folder. Okay, so I have saved the file, so you can open it anytime and make some changes and create another module, so it is easier. And I'll just click on OK. Okay, so can you see here, I have generated the frame structure. So as you can see here, as the support condition are fixed at the bottom, dead load is applied as a self weight, as well as all the cases, as your pavement thickness, crash barrier, everything. So there are multiple values will be present over here as a element beam loads. So I'll just undisplay it. Then temperature gradient, which is for rise as well as fall. Okay, and then the earth pressure without water, because there is no water level present. So this is earth pressure applied on the sides, and shrinkage load, as we have given the shrinkage strength, and the crowd load. Okay, okay, now let's just right now what we will do, we won't apply moving load, and also the uh, any other load. Mainly moving load we are dealing with right now. We will see the same moving load and other applications of loads in the box culvert. Okay, otherwise it will be repetitive procedure. Okay, so let me just analyze the file and show you the result. And okay, I'll just save the file as 2D frame. Okay, now let's just go to results tab, load combination, concrete design. As you can see over here, the load combinations are automatically be made here, because we have created using wizard, right? Okay, so let me close this. Now let's go to the results. So let's see first reactions due to the dead load. Dead load will contain the self weight as well as the elemental beam loads, that is UDL, which would be nothing but your crash barrier as well as the pavement loading. Okay, so let's see the vertical reactions first. Let me check on the legend as well. Okay, so now here you can see the in the exponential terms. So if you want to see it in the decimal format, you can just click here and check on the fixed option. Okay, so 194 would be the total maximum reaction, sorry, minimum reaction, and 241 is the maximum reaction. Maximum reaction would be shown in the red color. Okay, now let's see the deformation shape. I will go to displacement contour. I'll check on the animate option as well, and I'll just check off the loads. Sorry. Okay, and now I'll click on apply. So you can see the animated shape, and from animated shape it would be easier to see whether our structure is behaving in the right format. Okay, so I will change it to mm to see the results. Okay, deformations are very less, so I will just okay, so 0.22 mm. Okay, now I'll just again go to meter, and I will go to forces and beam diagrams. I'll check off the deform so we can see it clearly. So this is how the frame structure will behave. Okay, this was about the bending moment. Now I'll go to FZ to see the shear forces. Okay, so these are the shear forces. You can check on the values. So 72.5 and 72.5 and 56.5 and 56.5. These results will be symmetric because the structure is also symmetric. Okay, and now this same results you can see in the result tables reaction. So I will check on all the elements. You can even select some of the elements to see only that particular element. Okay, and let me check the dead load. Okay, so this is the total 629.89 kilonewton is the total dead load coming on the structure. Now what I will do, I will only select only some of the elements. And I will just inactivate them. Okay, so only top elements are present. If you select all 1 to 12, I will just copy this. I'll go to results, then I will activate beam forces, and I will check on only for 1 to 12 elements dead load at I end. I end is the start point, Z end is the end point. So for only those elements you can see the axial forces, shear forces and moments. You can even export to Excel, or you can just copy paste the table to the Excel. So these results can easily be exported to the Excel sheets for further design. Okay, now I will activate everything again. Okay, so this was about the result extraction. Now let's see the design. I will go to design. I will choose the IRC 112. I'll go to modify concrete material. Okay, so I will choose here IS FE 500, modify it. Sorry, make sure the units. Okay, so 35 is MPa, Newton mm. So this is kilonewton per meter square. So accordingly you have to enter the compressive strength. Now here you can design by two methods. There is the beam section data for design and beam section data for checking. So by design, the software will give the reinforcement data, that is what minimum reinforcement is required, and by checking you will provide the reinforcements to the software, and software will check whether for this reinforcement section is passing or failing. Okay, so there are two types, design or checking. Okay, so now let's first check the beam section data for design. So let me just modify these three sections first. I'm giving the stirrups data for it. So let's say P12. I'm giving the cover from top and bottom. DT is top, DB is the bottom. Two numbers of stirrups. I'll give the add and replace. Okay, so this O is there, that means now it is replaced by the stirrup data, and this X means we haven't given any stirrup data here. Okay, so first three sections we will design. I'll cancel this. Now I'll select first three, 1, 2 and 3. I'll go to RC design, concrete core design and beam design. Okay, so here you can see our sections are passing right now. So that means the section shapes or section dimensions are sufficient. So you can go to graphic. First I have to select the section, graphic. Okay, so here you can see the section is safe for shear as well as the bending moment capacity. Okay, now here you can see this is the reinforcement data required. I'll change to Newton mm so it would be easier to understand. Now I'll go to detailed report. So first there are load combination, then there are the description for the beam that are used for the design, and then the forces and moments, which load combination it is critical. Okay, and these are the area requirements. 943 mm square is the required reinforcement for the top and bottom, and these are stirrups. This is stirrups data that we have provided. So this is the analyzing the bending moment capacity, and then the positive and negative, and there is the shear capacity check. Okay, you can save the result report. Now if you have designed for all the elements, now you want to check only those sections which are not good, ng is the not good, so you can just only check if any section is not good, then this is like a sorting. Okay, only those sections will be visible here. Okay, all means all the sections would be shown here. Okay, so I'll just close it. Now let's check the data for checking. So as we have designed beam, let's check the column section data for checking. Okay, so here what we will do, here you have to give the ties. Okay, let's say 100, and here you have to give the data of the reinforcement. Okay, so make sure I have changed the units. So this position 1 and this is position 2. Okay, so accordingly you can enter it. And 45 mm cover. So I am adding and replace. Okay, sorry, this is not spacing, this is division. So I'll make it 6. . Okay, so this is the uh, reinforcement data that you have to give. Okay, divisions is the divisions of that, not the spacing. Okay, these are the divisions. These are the reinforcement bars, and DC is the cover distance. So you can see it over here, and you can just redraw it to visualize that reinforcement. Okay, I'll just cancel this. Now I will select only one section because I have provided the reinforcement for only that. So concrete code check, column checking. Okay, so the section is all right. So let's see the graphic report for this. So here you will find the actual forces and moments, resistance checks. These are applied loads, and this is PM interaction curve, and this is shear force resistance. Okay, now let's check the detailed report. Here you can also draw the PM interaction curve, and as per the member it will change the curves. Okay, I have designed only for one, so only one element is present. Let's see the detailed report as well. So here for the given reinforcement, it will check whether our column is uh, alright or it is not good. Okay, so this is biaxially loaded RC column. This would be analyzed resistance for that, and shear resistance along local Z axis and Y axis, shear reinforcement, compute maximum spacing for it. So as per the data we have provided, it will see whether it is okay or not acceptable. Okay, so let me close this. I don't want to save this. Okay, so this was about the 2D RC frame. Now let me save this and save as the same file as 3D frame. Okay, now I will delete everything. So I will select all, or you can just undo it. Okay, I have just kept only M35 material. Now I'll go back to the structure. I will open the RC frame and blocks, and I'll open here now a 3D frame. Okay. Okay, now everything will be same. What will change here? If you want to give the skew angle, you will provide the skew angle over here. If you want to give wing wall, you can give the wing wall thicknesses and the size of plate elements. Also you can provide the radius of the curvature and the span length. As we have tried two spans of 6 meter, let's see only the single span. Okay, now if you want to give the wing wall or not, it as per the requirement of the clients and as well as the drawings that you have. Okay, now the same data it would be available for the 3-dimensional. As you can see, the image won't change. So everything H2P, all these definition of the uh, terms will be same for 2D or 3D, whether it is frame or box culvert. Okay, now let's go to the transfers. I have kept the plate element size as 1000 because as I have observed, the results won't change much if you reduce the size over here as well. Okay, it depends usually on your length and the dimensions, longitudinal length and span usually. Okay, depending on that you can give the mesh size for that. Now type, as I have kept over here the same. I haven't changed anything here in the dimensions for the your carriageway width or the width of crash barrier. Okay, supports will be fixed as this is frame. Now let's go to the loads. So loads also nothing is changed, but here the application would be different. As here you can see it would be made up of plate elements and not the beam elements. The application of element beam loads, that is pavement or your crowd load or the self weight of the crash barriers, everything was as a UDL in case of 2D frame, but in case of 3D frame it will be applied as a pressure load. Depending on the width of crash barrier, it will convert the UDL into area load. Okay, so I'll just click save as this file as the 3D frame, and click on OK. Okay, as we are dealing with the box RC frame and not box culvert, so that bottom slab is not present. Okay, now here you can see the, as per the haunch and everything, the shear areas, so areas would be increased at this location. Okay, this is our thickness of all the slabs. Okay, now let's see the dead load. Let's see the pressure loads first. So you can see this as a pressure load. Okay, let me convert it to kilonewton and meter. Okay, so here you can see 25 kilonewton uh, per meter square. This is area load. This is nothing but your crash barrier, right? Because 11.25 kilonewton per meter load we have given, and it will be converted using the width of crash barrier, which is 0.45. So it would be 25 kilonewton per meter square. Okay, the same will go with the everything. The kilonewton per meter load will be converted into area load. Okay, let me just undisplay this. Then the temperature gradient, earth pressure here it would be applied from inner side walls of your wing walls, and as well as the side walls of your frame. Okay, and then the crowd load, this would be the crowd load, 5 kilonewton per meter square, as this would be given in the area load terms itself. Okay, now before moving for the results, let's discuss about the domains. Okay, so first let me undisplay this. Okay, so what are domains? Domains you will find under the node element tab. So sorry, yeah. So first you have to go to the define domain. So basically domain is nothing but the grouping of the elements, in broad grouping of the elements, whether it is plate, element, depending on the element type, whether it is plate or plane stress strain or is asymmetric. Okay, so let me just give the, now what I will do, I will just select these elements and activate them. Okay, so now these are plate elements or slab, top slab elements. So I'll select this all, go to define domain, and I will give the name as a top slab. Okay, and add it. Now I want to make the strips within this group, or I want to make the subgroups within this broader group of the slab. That means as per the strips that we have defined or we will define here, uh, according to that we can give the reinforcement patterns. Okay, now let me explain it in a better way. Now for the whole slab the reinforcement will not be similar, at the end it will be different, at mid it will be different. So for that I will make the group of elements, and as per these group of elements it will change the reinforcement pattern. Okay, so for that we have to define the subdomain. So I'll go to subdomain and let me give the end slab, sorry, type would be plate beam. Okay, what I mean by plate beam, it is a 1D design of the plate. 1D means only a single direction. uh, okay, so I will keep the rebar direction as local. To see the direction of the elements you can go to here, this is the screen kind of symbol. So you will go to element tab and go check on the local axis. Okay, so these are all aligned. If these elements are not aligned, you can go to change parameters and align the element local axis. Okay, so let me just check off. So x is parallel to the global x, y is parallel to global y, and z is parallel to global z. Okay, so let me just check off this. So I will give the rebar direction as per the local direction. That means it is parallel to x only. So direction 1 is your x and direction 2 of the rebars would be perpendicular to it. That means main rebars would be given as a direction 1 and distribution bars would be parallel would be as per the direction 2. Okay, now let me just select some elements. So let me select this strip and add it. Okay, now I have just defined one strip to show you like how we can divide the strips, and you can select some mid strip and you can define such multiple kind of strips. Okay, so I'll go to define subdomain. I will select as we have defined only one domain, it is only one option present there, and I'll give, let's say, mid strip, and plate beam direction would be local and add. Okay, now so this is same, you can go with the wall. Instead of plate beam you will select plate column. Okay, now I will, yeah, now before moving for the before we go for the result extraction, let's go for the load application first. Okay, so I'll go to moving load and I'll choose the India as code. Now there are two types, traffic line lanes and traffic surface lanes. So line lane is for the beam elements, and surface lanes is for the plate elements. So I have chosen this, add. Now lane width, here it will not affect, we have to give the wheel spacing. So first let's define the class A lane, class A1. Offset distance, so here offset or eccentricity is nothing but it depends. Now let's see, I have considered this line as our reference line. Okay, so from this reference line, what is the center of your vehicle? Okay, as we are performing longitudinal analysis first here, so we have to tell the program what is the distance between your center of your vehicle from the reference line. Okay, now I'll come to the code first. So what we are doing over here, as we have considered 10 meter, so it will 10 meter as a clear carriageway width, it will consider 3 class A lanes and one combination as class A plus 70R. So 3 lanes of class A, that means we have to define it as per the code provisions. Okay, so how many lanes we will form? 4 total lanes, 3 of class A and 1 of 70R, because we will use class A lane to combine with the 70R, as these are two different combinations. Okay, so let me minimize it. So first let's see how the eccentricity will be calculated. Now I will go here and calculate the eccentricity first. So if you see, now let me show you how the distance can be seen. I'll just press F4. So total is 14.9. Okay, that means, sorry, so we have 0.45 as the crash barrier width plus 2 meter as a sidewalk plus 0.15 as the clear distance between the extreme end plus 0.25 half wheel width of your class A vehicle, right, plus 0.9, sorry, plus 0.9, so it is 3.75. So as you can see, if this is reference line and you are giving distances above the reference line, you have to give minus a, that means minus sign. So I am entering minus 3.75. Span length is 12 meter, or you can use the calculate the impact factor manually, and instead of span length you will choose the impact factor. Okay, now I will as there is no skew angle, I am not giving any skew angle. If it is skew frame or skew culvert, you have to provide that much skew angle to the start and end. And moving direction is both. I will click here and here. Okay, so it will be automatically added. I'll click on apply. Now class A 2. So how it will calculate it? Now this is 3.75 plus remaining distance 0.25 plus 0.9 plus 1.2 is the clear distance between two class A vehicles, plus 0.25 plus 0.9, so 7.25, so minus 7.25. Everything will remain same. I'll just delete the table and I will click from 1 to last node and apply. Now the last lane, class A 3, 7.25 plus 0.9 plus 0.25 plus clear distance 1.2 plus again 0.25 plus 0.9, so 10.75 minus 10.75. Okay, let me delete this again. Span length 12 meter. Okay, and apply. Now 70R. Now first distance was 3.75, right? So how that we had calculated? 0.45 crash barrier width plus 2 meter sidewalk plus 0.15 clear distance plus 0.25 plus 0.9, so 3.75. So remaining would be 0.9 plus 0.25 plus clear distance 1.2 plus, now here the width of wheel width of class A is class 70R is 0.86, so I will use 0.43 plus 1.93 divided by 2, so 7.495, so minus 7.495, and wheel spacing is 1.93. I'll delete the existing table and will add the 70R vehicle. Okay, so first step of moving load application is done, which is the application of your lanes. Now the second step is vehicular loading. So I will go to vehicles. Now here you can use the standard option because we have already IRC as well as IRS vehicles, and if you want to add any user defined load, you can add in three terms: wheel, tracked or bogie, or wheel load, or any permit truck load. Okay, under the permit truck load you can use your special vehicles or any other vehicles to define. Okay, actually special vehicle load is already there, so if you choose IRC 6, IRC class special vehicle load is already there, but apart from that, if you want to define any load, you can use the permit load option as well. So let me go to add standard. Yeah, so now if you are dealing with the railway loads, the procedure will be same. The lane definition would be same, but it would be the eccentricity would be depending on the your rails position and not the wheel distances of your as per the IRC loading. Okay, so here so the procedure would be same. You have to define lanes, you have to define vehicular loading, and you have to use the moving load combination to apply that defined vehicular loading on the defined lanes. Okay, so this is three step procedure: definition of lane, definition of your vehicle load, and final is combining that load, applying that load to the lane, which is moving load cases. Okay, so let here if you want to go for the railway loading, you just have to choose IRS here, and vehicular type broad gauge, meter gauge, footbridge or footpath, and the vehicular load, which is DFC loading, 25-ton loading. Okay, so as per that you will choose the vehicular load here. Okay, let's come back to IRC code, class A load. So you can see this is the spacing, and the minimum nose to tail distance is already considered over here. I'll click on apply. Now the second vehicle, class 70R. So for the wheel it is 30 meter minimum nose to tail distance and 90 for tracked vehicles. So wheel, tract and bogie. All the three cases would be considered in the software. Whichever is critical, those results would be seen in the envelope cases. Okay. Okay. Now two steps are done: lane definition and load definition. Now the last one is moving load cases. That means application of that vehicular loading on the defined lane. Add. So first, sorry, 3 lanes of class A. I'll check off auto live load combination, add it. So minimum I'm giving as 1 and maximum 3. I'll choose the vehicle as class A. Okay, so what is minimum number of loaded lanes and what is maximum number of loaded lanes? So basically, as you might be knowing that moving load cases would be of envelope load case type. Okay, envelope load case type means it will use the combination of the loadings to generate the final envelope. Envelope is the maximum results and minimum results, or all. Okay, so minimum load case loaded lanes is 1. That means first load would be applied on the first lane. In second combination it will apply on the second lane. In third it will apply on the third lane. Now second combination, the next combination would be it will apply any of the two lanes. If it apply on the first and second, in the next combination it will apply second and third, and then first and third. So it will make the different cases depending on the minimum and maximum number of loaded lanes, and it will make the envelope of the load cases. Okay, so always moving load is the envelope load type would be envelope only. Okay, so I'll click on OK and OK. Now let's click on the again, and I will give on class A plus 70R. Okay, let me check off, add 0 and 1, first 70R, let's see, apply. Now I'll choose class A, and first lane of class A I will use because accordingly I have entered the eccentricity, and OK. So one is 70R and one is class A. So this is the combination of class A plus 70R. Okay, and close. Okay, now if you see these cases, sorry, these lanes, okay, and these are 3 class A lanes. This red is the center line. Okay, I'll just undisplay this. I'll activate all now. Why I have kept activated only top slab? Because when we are selecting the reference line, there is possibility that when we go to top view, the bottom nodes could get selected or bottom elements could get selected, and so that it will not form the proper lanes. Okay, so it is advisable that you just only select the top elements where you want to create the lanes or loading. Only select that portion and then apply it. So how to select it? You just have to select that particular portion, let's see this, and click on active. Okay, so only that portion would be activated. Okay, let me activate all. Okay, now before going to analysis part, we will go to analysis control, and let's control the moving load results. Now as you must be aware of it, in the influence generating point, this moving load, as you have already seen, this is not a static load given in the time increments. Okay, this is a moving load, and the method used here is influence line diagram. So for every element it will calculate its bending moment, shear forces and all the forces, okay, as per the moving load cases that we have given. Okay, now for the stress results, in case of plate elements, we have to explicitly check on this stress option box. For beam or frame type of elements, it is already checked on, but for plate, we have to explicitly check on the stress option. Okay, now as we have not given any impact factor, we just have given the span length. So to use the formula described in the IRC6, software needs to know whether it is steel bridge or RC bridge, because it depends on the type of bridge as well, right? So I will choose the RC. This below information is for the railway. If you are dealing with the railway bridge, then you have to mention how many tracks are there, what is the sleeper width, and the depth of fill. Okay, and maximum successive vehicles, it is 10 is the maximum for such 12-meter length. If in fact I guess two maximum successive vehicles would be more than enough. Okay, so I'll just click on OK and click on perform analysis. If we decrease the number of maximum successive vehicles, it will also decrease the time for analysis. Okay, now let's go to the results part. Load combination. Here as you can see, it is already load combinations are already created over here, right? But I will generate using auto generation to show you how auto generated load combinations can be made. So I will just select IRC6 LSD. I haven't applied any wind load, snow load or construction loads, and I'll click on OK. So depending on the IRC6 loading, it will generate the load combinations. Okay. So now if you see the moving load, I will show you that. While showing you the results, I'll show you how the envelope cases are made. If you want to make manually the envelope case, instead of type add, you have to select type as envelope. Okay. Now let's see the reaction. Let's see the legend. So maximum is 1783 kilonewton. Let's see the contour. Okay, so if you change it to mm and apply, so 3 mm is the maximum deformation occurring in the due to the dead load. Okay, now if you see the moving load, MV max 3 lanes of class A, MV min 3 lanes of class A, MV all. So as I have said, max, min and all, these are nothing but the envelope cases. Okay, so if you see the forces, let's say the beam diagram, sorry, this is plate. So let me go to the plate forces. So MV max 3 lanes of class A. Okay, and you can click on apply. Kilonewton meter. So 101 kilonewton per meter. Okay, now if you see the local axis, let me just check on some of the plates. Okay, so this is the local axis. Now if you want to see what are the meanings of element, average nodal, what are the components, what is mxx, myy, then you just can press F1. Okay, here it will redirect you to the user guide. Okay, now the same you can use to see it. Now if you see here, sorry, the sequence would be same. There would be start and all the main commands like file, view, structure, node, element, properties would be in the same sequence. So how to see, how to refer to the manual, you just have to go to now right now we are in the plate element results. Sorry, so I'll go to results and forces and plate forces. Okay, so now it will explain everything. Now element means it will display the contour using internal forces calculated at each node of an element, and average nodal means it will average the internal node forces of the elements sharing the common nodes. Okay, then these are the components. So if you see mxx is the bending moment per unit width in the direction of local or the user coordinate system x axis. So these two are the out of plane moments. Mxx is the in the direction of x axis, myy is the in the direction of y axis. Okay, in the beam how it is referred, along it is about the x axis and about the y axis. Okay, so if you see the beam diagrams, so here you can see my is the bending moment about y axis, but in case of plate elements it is in the direction of y axis. Okay, this is the difference. Okay, now I'll just check off the local axis. Now let's see mxx and click on apply. So you can see maximum occurring it on the 1/9th element. Okay, for the class A, 3 lanes of class A. So if you see, this is 101 kilonewton meter, and if you see the class A plus 70R combination, this is 136 for 120 element. So let's see, for this 136 kilonewton meter moment, what is the vehicular position. So to see the graphical representation of moving load tracer, we will go to moving tracer, plate forces. I will enter the 120 as, so you can you remember this figure 136. Okay, now I'll click on apply. So this is our vehicular position for the 120 element. Okay, now similarly we will see the class A lens. I will give the 119 and apply. So this is going to be our class A MV max. Okay, vehicular position. This is going to be the wheel location. All right. Okay, so now let me activate all. Okay, so this was about the 3D box, 3D frame. Okay, now let's go to design part. RC design, modify concrete material. So I will enter 35,000. The procedure would be same. Okay, instead of beam, here we have to design plate. So I will show how it can be done. Sorry, modify, close. Okay, so RC design. Now here we won't use beam or column, we will use plate beam. Okay, so let's go for the plate beam data for design. Now if you remember the domain information, now the same domain information will be used here. Now let's design the end slab. So I will use the element and not the average nodal. Then element as a plate force option. Main rebar direction would be X. So this is direction 1. As this is slab, we are not providing any stirrups. So I'm just giving directly cover distance and add. Similarly, I will define mid strip. I will keep everything same and add. Okay. Now let's select only some of the elements so that we can see the design. It would be much faster. So plate beam design. Okay, so the checks seem to be okay. You can see the detailed report. First would be the load combinations. Then it would give the same description of the plate beam data, what is thickness, what is the unit width. It would be designed for the unit width. Okay, and this is the reinforcement pattern that we have provided. Okay, now it would check and it will come up to the final reinforcement options. It Alright, this is the shear capacity itself. Now same, you can see it in the graphic format. So top required and rebar data is 0.0013. So I'll just change it to mm, so it would be easier to interpret it. So 1.36 mm square is the top reinforcement, 0.58 mm square is the, this is per mm, this is per unit width. Okay, if whether it is meter or mm, it is per unit width. Okay, so unit system will be kilonewton mm per mm, because I have selected mm over here. Okay, now this was about the design. To check it, we have to provide the rebar data. So first I will give the rebar input for the plate element. I'll just do it for the mid part only. Okay, so mid slab, this is center to center distance, this is not division. In case of beam type, we have to provide the divisions over there. So I will keep 100 mm as CTC, P16, P12 and cover distance 40. Sorry, this is now mm, so 4 5. So I will keep the same data over here, and the distribution bar, you can copy paste as well if there are more layers. Okay, and I'll just click on add. I'm not defining right now end slab because this is to show you the procedure. Right now we have to also cover the 3D part for the box, 2D and 3D part for the box culvert. Okay, so let me go to now design checking portion. So we have given the rebar, now we have to check. Okay, so for that first we have to select the strip for which this data is to be assigned, add, and now I'll select only mid portion and I'll go for concrete code check, plate beam checking. Okay, so this seems to be fine. So if you see the detailed report, the same you can find over here. And graphic would be easier. Okay, this is my graphic card issue, sorry. Okay, so bottom, okay, this seems to be fine. Okay, okay, so I'll just close this now. Okay, now I'll save this and I will now save as a 2D culvert. Okay, so 2D box culvert, and I will undo everything. Okay, now start with the box culvert. So now same method, same wizard we will use to generate, but right now in the culvert we will also see how the 2D culvert, or how the moving load can be applied on the 2D culvert, and how the support conditions are generated in the wizard. So these are two main points while dealing with the culvert wizard that we haven't covered in the frame. Okay, so first is application of moving load on the 2D culvert, and also the support conditions. Okay, so I'll just go to RC frame box, same wizard. We'll use 2D. Okay, I have deleted the material. So let's create material. Okay, now let me open the existing wizard file. Okay, so 5.35 meter is the total span length. 325 mm is the thickness of top slab. Now you can differentiate here between the frame and box culvert. Here the bottom slab also comes to the picture, right? So here you can see h1 is the total height If you have provided the wing wall, then h3 is the height of the height of other side of that wing wall. H2 is, all the definition will be same as per the 2D 2D frame only. So H2 and P would be the thickness of soil plus thickness of pavement. So as I said earlier as well, H2 shall be greater than P or shall be equal to P, but it should never be less than P, because pavement thickness is a part of H2. H2 includes thickness of soil plus thickness of pavement. Okay, so other definitions will be same depending on the drawings you have or dimensions of the culverts. You will enter the thickness of top slab, T4 as the thickness of bottom slab, T2 is the thickness of wall. These are span 1, span 2 length. Okay, and if the haunches are present, then A1 and B1 shall be entered. Now let's go to transfers. So here all the data will be same. I have given for 45 0.45 meter as the crash barrier width, and instead of 10 meter as clear carriageway width, I have provided here 8.75. So this will change the distribution of load as well as the moving load combinations. Okay, before it was 10 meter, so we have considered 3 lanes of class A and one class A plus 70R combination. Now the clear carriageway width is 8.75, so moving load cases would be different here. Otherwise everything will be same. Okay. Okay, now coming to the supports of culverts. So this is the main part over here. Okay, so supports of culverts, first of all, it depends on your type of soil, type of foundation you want to use. Okay, so depending on the Poisson's ratio of the soil and stress strain modulus of your soil, uh, it would be different for each condition. Okay, so uh, conducting some field tests like SPT or CPT, you have to calculate the influence factors as well. Okay, so calculations of these things you can refer to the books or the sheets you have, and you can occur to the modulus of subgrade reaction. So as I said, modulus of subgrade reaction has to be manually calculated, and it will be dependent on the type of soil, right? Because mu, that is Poisson's ratio, or ES, that is stress strain modulus of soil, and also the influence factors and the field test. So doing this you will arrive at modulus of subgrade reaction, and you have to give that information here. Okay, now length of elastic link, basically elastic link is nothing but we are using it to provide the stiffness of the soil. Okay, you can even give it in terms of point spring supports, but here point spring supports are used to give the stability to the box culvert at the center of your culvert. Otherwise for at each location, here length elastic links are used to give the stiffness of the soils. Okay, so length of elastic link will not matter over here. You can put as per the uh, convenience of the graphical representation of it. Okay, now I'll go to loads. Now here also everything will be same. Self weight, pavement thickness would be considered from the longitudinal tab. So 65 mm, same it would be considered over here. Okay. Now let me just show you some calculations. Okay. Now as you can see over here, we have considered 65 mm as the thickness, and 8.75 is the area of the loading. Okay, pavement would be throughout, but the total width of the culvert is 9.65 meter, because in the 2D everything is calculated per meter. Okay, so that's why UDL per meter would be 1.296. Okay, this won't be directly applied as a 65 into 8.75. Okay, it should be weight into effective width into thickness divided upon total slab width. So 1.3 would be your UDL per meter. Okay, similarly for any other additional load or crash barrier, same thing will go. Now crash barrier intensity we are giving as 11.25, so divided upon total slab width into 2. Why we have done 2 here? Because we have two crash barriers. Okay, so almost 2.3 UDL per meter, that is kilonewton per meter per meter. Okay, so these are calculations. Now coming to the earth pressure of water, with earth pressure without water. Now here we haven't considered any soil layer. Okay, so H2 is equals to P, that means thickness of pavement is equals to thick, the total thickness. So H2 is 0 here, that means soil thickness is 0. Okay, so as 325 is the total thickness of slab, so from the center of it, that means 162.5 would be the width of your uh, top slab, half width of the top slab, plus earth pressure due to SIDL on the slab, which is 0.715. So 1.625 plus 0.715 would be 2.34. So at the top it would be applied as a 2.34. Similarly, this plus this element height plus the earth pressure due to SIDL on the slab, that is the pavement. So pavement into weight density of the pavement. Okay, zero point 0.5 is the rest condition K naught. Okay, so this is how the earth pressure is calculated. It is very simple, that as we calculate it manually, the same method is used in the software. Okay, so let me come back over here and just save as this. This is 2D culvert, and okay. Sorry. So I have opened already a existing file, because there are a lot of now things that we are going to see in this model, that is the application of the live load. Okay, so let's first discuss how it is done. Okay, so I'll let me open some calculation file. Okay, now if you see here on the screen, this is one simple case that we are going to consider to apply the live load on the 2D culvert. Okay, so here I have considered one case where we have considered two axles of 11.4 ton placed equidistant from the midspan, okay, of the deck slab. Okay, so this is the vehicular direction, this is the direction of vehicle, and this is 11.4 ton axle load. Okay, so we have considered for right now class A vehicle. So if you see, this is the B, that is the width of your tire or wheel along the direction of traffic. W is the total tire width in the transverse direction. Okay, 3 meter is the clear distance, sorry, center to center distance between each wheels, and here as a 4.3. So depending on the spacing, this is class A vehicle position. So here, as you know, for the 2D we have to calculate the loading, live load calculations manually. Okay, so first is calculation of load intensity depending on the dispersed wheel length. So as per the dispersion, we have to calculate the wheel length over here. So we will use this formula, where we will use the contact width of tire in the traffic direction, which is B. Okay, and plus 2 times thickness of your fill. If it is soil or pavement, you have to include sum of both, and T is the thickness of top slab. Okay, so here we have got width after dispersion through wheel is, if you see over here, it is 2.3 meter. Okay, and total UDL we have calculated as the 110.678. Okay, so this is the total UDL that we are going to apply. Okay, now let's see the next step, which is the effective width calculation. Okay, now as you have already seen that even if we apply the UDL, we have to apply it per meter, because we are considering the unit width over here. Okay, so we have to calculate effective factor. So for that, I have done this for a project, for one of the projects. So here, even though we are considered two lanes of class A and one lane of 70R, we are considering effective width for three lanes only and not for the two lanes, okay, because of the requirement of the project. Okay, so effective width shall be taken as minimum of the all three, whether whatever the values we get from the effective width for single lane, two lanes or three lanes, it should be minimum of them. Okay, so for effective width for three lanes we have got 3216 mm. Okay, so critical width would be 3216 mm only and not the 4616. It should be minimum of them, right? So I have considered this 3216. Impact factor of class A is 39.65% as per the IRC 6 calculations. So gross UDL per meter considering the impact factor would be UDL divided by that critical width into 1 plus impact factor. Okay, impact factor calculation for RC bridge, the same formula we will use uh, as per the RC or steel bridge. Okay, so final value have we have arrived at 48.05. So we have got now UDL per meter value including impact factor. Okay, now the last point is the application points of loads. Okay, so now let's see this figure. So if you see over here, this is the traffic direction, this is our wheel, sorry, this is our vehicle, and this is the we have considered one case where 11.4 ton is placed at the equidistance from the CG of your deck slab. Okay, so this is 11.4 ton, this is 11.4 ton. The total span length is 5.35. So from the center it is 2.675. Okay, so how to calculate the this distance for the 1 meter from the left end? So this is total 2.675 minus half of zero point 0.6. Okay, so we have arrived at the center. Now what is the total distance between these 2 points? 1.03. So 1.03 by 2, so it is 2.675 minus zero point 0.6 minus 0.515. So we will get the uh, coordinate for the first. Now similarly we have to just add 1.03 for the coordinate 2. Similarly 3 and 4 will be calculated. So these distances I have calculated from the left end, so it would be easier to enter it in the software. Okay, so this is the table for each case. I have considered two axles of 11.4 ton placed equidistant from the CG of deck slab. Then class A CG, CG of the class A vehicle placed at the CG of the deck slab. And third is class 70R track CG placed at the CG of or center of the deck slab. So these many cases will be considered as per the requirement of the project. And similarly the same way we have calculated UDL, then the as per the dispersed wheel length, then we have calculated the effective width and the impact factor, and we have arrived at UDL per meter, and then we calculated the loading points for each case. Okay, and similarly we will calculate the braking effects as well. So live load braking effect would be 20% of live load for the first two lanes and 5% for the remaining lanes. So as per the formula in IRC, we will arrive at gross UDL and the braking effect in the longitudinal as well as the vertical directions. Okay, so vertical directions, it would be like a couple. Okay, this would be a trapezoidal loading 4.8 positive as well as a minus 4.8 in the negative direction, and the longitudinal direction it is 2.998, so almost 3 kilonewton per meter. Okay, so now let's see how we can apply it on the in the program. Okay, now right now we have already added these cases, so I'll just make some trial case over here to show you. I'll give live load as a type. Okay, so last you will find this trial. Now to apply, instead of element load we will go to line load. Okay, because here element beam load can be applied element wise and not at any location of that line. Okay, line element, as you can see in the calculations as well. This is 1.56, this is 2.59. So it's not necessary that our node should be present at those locations. Okay, so and to apply element loads, we need element or a node at that particular location. Okay, so instead of element load, we will go for the line beam loading. Now I will use the trial as the load case. I'll keep uniform loads and direction of loading would be global Z. Now there is value either relative or absolute. Relative would be in terms of ratio, we can say. That means if you have 1 meter element and you give the relative and x2 as 0.5, then only that half ratio it would be applied. Okay, so we'll use the absolute because we are dealing in the absolute terms right now. Okay, so I will give 1.56 and 2.59 and for minus 48.05 because it is acting downwards. Let me just check off the hidden option and I will select one node and second node. Okay, now if you see, sorry, okay, so if you display this, okay, so this is how the load can be applied. Okay, now similarly I have created other cases as well. So let's see breaking longitudinal first. So this is vertical actually. Okay, so this is 4 point minus 4.8 and 4.8. The procedure would be similar. Instead of uniform load, you will go to trapezoidal load over here. Okay, and you will give the intensity. Okay, otherwise everything will be same. And then here the breaking load, which is here only what thing will change, you may also guess. Instead of direction Z, it would be global X. Okay, so this would be global X only. Okay, so this is how the moving load is applied, and so this was the main thing that I wanted to show you, which we haven't covered in the frame because it would be repetitive. Now I'll just minimize this. Let me just delete the last case. It would be okay. Now let me just analyze this. Okay, now everything is same. Now you are aware to how to see the results. Actually, load combinations I have made this manually because the cases that we have to choose here are not actually the live load cases. This is like nothing but a static live load. Okay, so I have created it manually over here. Now let me show you the forces beam diagrams. Let's say this is I'll look for the class A case 1. So this is the loading. Okay, these are 4 points. This is 1.56, this is 2.59. Then if you see the next load, 2.76 and 3.79. So this is 2.76 and this is 3.79. So these middle points are nothing but the nodes that are already existing in the structure. So that's why there is one location of loading you can see. Otherwise this should be 4 loads, 4 points, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, in between loadings is the node location present over there. Okay, now this is the bending moment diagram shape for the moving load class A case. Now you can see the stresses as well, beam stress diagram. Now let's say the combined stresses, which would be combination of axial stresses, uh, your My and Mz. Okay, so these are combined stresses. So let's see for the dead load. Okay, so these are the stresses. You can see the legend as well. This is the these are the combined stresses. Let's see the SBZ and SBY. Okay, SBY won't be present because it is in the about the z direction. SBZ, it is the about y direction. Okay, so that's why SBZ stresses are present over here. Okay, now as now you already are aware of design process, let me just quickly revise it for you. So you'll go to design, RC design, then first you will modify the concrete material. I'll choose IS. Okay, modify, and you will go to beam section data for design. So let me just do it for all of them. I'll choose the stirrup size as P12 to 0.045 meter, and same over here, add and replace. Okay, now I will only choose one element because it will take time, and concrete core design, beam design. Okay, so the procedure is same over here as well. You can see this is okay. If the sections is not okay, it will show it in the red color. Now if you see, if you have got star and star, okay, this is the thing you have got over here instead of okay. Okay, that means it is okay for positive capacity check, it is okay for shear capacity check, and where n is present, that means it is not good for the negative moment. Okay, if it is, if the instead of okay, if it is shown as p star star, that means for the positive bending capacity it is not okay, but for negative and shear it is okay. Okay, so this is how it is given in the online help manual as well, so you can refer it anytime. Okay, so let me close this now. Let me save this, and I'll save as now 3D frame, oh sorry, 3D culvert. Okay, now let me undo everything. Okay, let me open the new file only. Okay, so I will just go to new file. I'll go to the same wizard. Now instead of frame 3D box culvert, let me open the wizard file. The same file I'm going to use everywhere, so it would be easily compared in your mind as well. Okay, so let's define the material first. Okay, let me now show you how the IRC materials can also be defined. So if you see here, there is a IS code, IRS code and IRC code. So depending upon the each code, the modulus of elasticity, thermal coefficient would be changing. So let's choose IRC RC right now and go to M35. So 25 wet density, 3.23 e to the power 7 as modulus of elasticity, and 1.2 e to the power minus 5. So if we choose IS material, it thermal coefficient is also different, elasticity is also different, and even the weight density is also different, right? So I have considered IRC6 material. The dimensions I have kept same. Here we have to give the size of plate elements as well. This is the only change from the 2D culvert. So transfers, size of plate element I have given, otherwise everything is same. Clear carriageway width is 8.75. Now as we talked about the supports of culvert, okay, right, I forgot to show you the supports of culverts in 2D. I'll come back to that. Okay, so as I said, here you have to calculate the modulus of subgrade reaction manually depending upon the soil, as well as it also depends on the influence factors, your field test, SPT or CPT. So it depends upon the modulus of your uh, stress or strain modulus, that is ES of your soil. Okay, so you will calculate modulus of subgrade reaction manually and enter it here. Now loads, I have kept the loads same over here. So here now it is 11.25 kilonewton per meter, which would be converted into the area load. Okay, I will show you the calculations to you. I just click on OK. Okay, so Okay, so here you have generated the culvert. Let's go to works, and now let's first see the supports condition. The same will be in the 2D as well, so no problem even if we haven't mentioned in the 2D. So if you see the display, okay, otherwise let me go to the what is and explain you first the support condition in 2D. Okay, so here point spring supports. So if you go here and display it, so depending upon the area shared by that element, now what I mean by this is, sorry, okay, so what I mean by this is, if you see this, I'll just, this is 0.175 and this is 1 meter. So for this element it would be in only into width into this area, okay, which is nothing but 0.175 by 2. For this elastic link, the stiffness would be half of 0.175 plus half of this length, which is 1 meter. So 0.5 plus 0.175. Okay, so 1.275 something. It would be total length. Okay, so if you see the elastic link table, this would be SDX. Okay, which is now let's see the node number. So this is from the 15 to 23. Okay, so this length, okay, so which is 4482.62, because we have entered it modulus of subgrade reaction into kilonewton per meter cube, into area it would be 4482. Okay, now similarly one point spring support is also present to give the stability to the structure in the vertical direction. Okay, so if you see this, let me show you this. Sorry, at the center, approximately at the center it would be given as a point spring support. Okay, now let's go back to our 3D structure. Okay, now I will activate only bottom portion of the slab and activate the elastic links. Okay, now if you see this location and this location, activate. I will need nodes as well, so I have selected like this. Okay, so now as I said, let's see the first length and width. So I will use F4 as a button, as a command. So this is 0.45, this is 0.175, and this would be 1 meter, because we have given 1 meter as a size of plate elements. Okay, so here how it is calculated for this elastic link. Now let's say this is this is 0.45 length into half of 0.175 width. So length into width is equals to area into modulus of subgrade reaction is equals to your stiffness of the first elastic link, which is 145 to 277. Okay, now same calculations I have mentioned here. So first let's see. Yeah, so yeah, as I said, this is 0.175 by 2 into 0.45 by 2, because half would be only taken and other half would be taken by another elastic link. So area is this much, so stiffness would be area into modulus of subgrade reaction, which is 150.2156. So let's see how this is from 145 to 277. So now let's see in the tables. This much, so this is 150.215, so it is exactly matched. So this is the same procedure as we calculate manually, the same method is used in the program as well. Okay, so this was about the supports. Now let's see the loading part. Okay, so now I will select only top portion. check off the display node number, and let's see the pressure loads. Okay, so if you see, this is 25 kilonewton per meter square applied as a UDL, 1.4 as a pavement loading. Okay, so let's see how it is calculated. So I'll go here. Okay, so 65 as the thickness of your pavement into 8.75, so is equals to 1.4, which is applied as a pavement load. While intensity of the crash barrier, it is 11.25 divided of the width of crash barrier, which is 25 on each side, right? So it is very simple. As we calculate manually, same it is applied by the program. In case of only 2D structure, you have to consider the effective width also, effective transverse width also, because that would be UDL applied per meter. As we consider unit width in the beam elements, it would be UDL per meter. But here it is not the case. Here it is directly applied as a area load. Okay, now let's activate all. Now I will directly open the file where traffic line lanes are already made. So this is class A, this is class A2, and let's make the third lane 70R and make the load combination. Okay, so I'll go over here, load, moving load, 70R, 1.93. So what would be the length? So first over here I will consider as 0.45 plus, I haven't considered any side walk over here. Okay, so 0.45 plus 0.15. Oh, sorry. In case of class 70R, it is 1.2. So 1.2 plus 0.43, half of wheel width, plus 1.93 by 2. Okay, so this is the 3.045. So minus 3.045. The span length is 12 meter, and I'll just activate the top portion. As I said, it is easier because if we go to the top view, it's possible that we may select the bottom portion as well. Okay, so let me just select the first point and last point. Okay, now let's add the vehicles, add standard, apply, as well as 70R. Now here what are the cases? 2 lanes of class A and 1 lane of 70R. So sorry, I'll give the name 2 lanes of class A. Now you can also tell me how it can be done. 1 minimum, maximum 2. I will choose a class A, both the lanes, apply, and 1 lane of 70R. Sorry, I haven't. One lane of 70R. Now I will delete this, add 70R. Okay, so it's done. Now analysis, I have to mention the moving load for the plate, stresses for the plates as well, impact factor for RC, and okay. So here now we will see how we can see the bending moment diagram and shear force diagram as we see in case of beam elements. Okay, so for that let me choose only some of the elements of the culvert. So I have selected this strip and activated it. Okay, now I will go to results, forces, plate forces, and here I will choose the plate cutting diagram. Okay, now let me add it one by one. So this is the first line, this is the second, sorry, add. Now this is the second line, add, the third line, add, and the last line. So I am showing for all the sides of your culvert. You can choose depending on the, I am choosing it reverse because for plate elements by default the results are shown in a reverse manner, different than the beam elements. Okay, now I'll click on apply. Okay, so if you see here, the bending moment diagram can be drawn for the plate elements as well using this cutting diagram. Okay, now let's move for the design. Okay, so for that the first method is as I said, I'll activate this. First method is definition of domain. Okay, so I will define as slab. Okay, and I will add both the slab elements like this, add. And now the next is walls. So this is nothing but, as I explained, this is nothing but the generation of broader group. Okay, whether it is wall or whether it is plate. Okay, now we have to define the subdomain. Okay, so you can go from over here, or you can close this and go to define subdomain. Now I'll go to define subdomain. So let me activate it first. Let me activate only top, and I will select only, sorry, this portion. So end slab, left end, type would be, as I said, plate beam. Rebar direction is local. So there are different directions as you can choose, whether it is local. UCS is user coordinate system. When user have defined different coordinate system, you can choose this user coordinate system. Otherwise it is equal to the GCS only, global coordinate. Then the reference axis. Reference axis means you have to define the vectors. Okay, this would be useful in case of when you are giving the wood armor moments, or if it is a skew angle, then you can give the reference axis as well. Okay, local. Now add it. Yes, now let's do for the walls. So I will activate all, and let me select only wall portion and top wall, add. Okay, now let's just analyze again and let's perform the design. It would be kind of revision for you, because we already have performed design in case of 3D box. Okay, so design. Now here what we will use, plate beam data for design. Okay, so left end, a plate force option I have kept element, direction would be 1, and I am given 45 mm, add. Okay, now let's just check only one, and go to RC design. If you do not select anything, it will design for all the elements. Okay, that's why I'm selecting it every time. If you do not select anything, it will design for all the elements present, and it will take time. So for now, to save the time, I have just selected this. So now you can see, now you are aware of it. It will first find the neutral axis, then check the moment capacity. It would be same for positive and negative moment capacity. Okay, so if you see the graphic, it would be much easier to find the what is the top reinforcement. Okay, so this is, as I said, per meter, per unit width, whether it is mm or meter. Okay, this would be per unit width. Okay, so this is 0.00045 meter square per meter. Okay, now if you click on mm, then it would be easier to, so 0.45 mm square per mm. Okay, so yes, so that's it from my side. So I hope you have understood now how you can generate 2D frame, 3D frame, 2D box culvert, 3D box culvert using the same result. So in case of 2D, moving load application is critical point, and in the culverts usually the main thing that we have to keep in mind, the supports of culvert, because modulus of subgrade reaction you have to calculate manually and give it to the program. Okay, the program is nothing but garbage in garbage out, as we say, because if you give the right inputs, it will generate the right outputs. So you have to make sure that you are giving the inputs correctly. Okay, so make sure you are looking in the message window as well. If it is not proper, it will give you some warnings or error messages. Okay, yeah, so that's it from my side. Thank you for attending this session. Hope this was informative for you.